Okay, I had to do this video. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. I had to do this video because, let me find it exactly. I feel sincerely that society has lost its way. And I don't think I'm the only person that thinks that. But, and I used to say maybe it's due to social media. Maybe social media has been the culprit of really just how society has went just to crap. But I can't say that. I can't just blame it only on social media because long before social media existed, there was kind of this trend. And this isn't just focused on one community. This is around the planet. We've actually lost our way as a society for a number of reasons. One, there's no accountability. No one wants to have accountability for anything. You have a lot of men that are that way for sure. You have a ton of women who do not want to be accountable for anything. And this is not a bashing of any one particular group. This is damn near everybody. It used to be a time when you could go to a neighbor's house and say, hey man, like, your kids keep throwing their stuff over here. Can you not do that? Can you talk to your kids about it? And the parent would go to the kid and be like, I can't believe you did that. Why would you do something like that? They would hold their kids accountable and question what made them do that. Why would you do that? And they would actually do it right in front of the neighbor and say, don't ever do that again to Mr. Such and such. Keep your toys in your yard. Nowadays, nope. You have neighbors who will get mad at you if you say anything about their kid and really hold a grudge against you. There used to be a time you could walk out your house and every neighbor on the block, you knew them very well. You'd say hi to them and all of this. Nowadays, you have neighbors who will treat you like, either they or you are in some sort of like a secret society. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to look at you. They hide. They turn their head. Maybe you might get a hand wave, but people just don't want to interact with you whatsoever. There's a meme I posted up prior to this one conversation. I'll get into it. And it basically comes up and it says, in the 1500s, it shows the Mona Lisa, what she looked like. And it said in 2018, it showed the extreme surgery and it shows the lips and the eyes and everything. Then it shows in 96, in 2016, it says in 96, it shows a cartoon. Most of these are cartoon animations, but show a guy laying out on the beach with some flower shorts and he has no tattoos. And then in 2016, and the guy has a book next to him and all of that. The other guy in 2016 is head to toe covered in tattoos with white shorts on. Right? In 1968, it says the teacher was setting up the desk and the kid would hand the teacher flowers. Remember they used to hand teachers flowers and apples? I grew up where kids were that, still that time, Kids would bring an apple to the teacher. We would laugh, oh, are you trying to be a suck up? And then they show in 2018, the kid putting a gun to the teacher's head. 2009, kid flying a kite. 2019, the kid's flying a drone. In 1990, it shows the skinny guy next to, those big, I don't have them anymore, those big old TVs. They were not the big ones that sat on the ground, but they still stood on a stand, but they were thick. And now it shows in 2017, flat panel TV, and the guy is all fat. Right? It shows a line of guys, this is someplace in Europe, all along the wall, down looking at their phones. But then it showed a black and white photo where there's a horse carriage coming, because you see all these cars parked there. But in this older photo, you see all these guys standing there looking and reading at a newspaper, and a horse carriage is coming down the thing. 1961, the teacher sitting at the desk, the parent comes in and says, "What's the meaning of these marks, these grades?" Looking at the kid like, why aren't you applying yourself? And 2011, the kid's sitting there like this, smiling, and the parents are pointing to the teacher, "What's the meaning of these marks?" And it shows here in 1996, a kid was fighting the mom because they didn't want to go in because they were outside playing ball. The mom's like, "You got to come in. You've been out here all day." And in 2016, the kid's on a phone playing, and the mom's trying to pull them out the house and say, "Go outside and play." I bring all those up because we've lost our way, I feel, as a society. This is not a preach session. It's just there's no accountability whatsoever. And it's kind of a hypocritical stance, because the reason why I do this thing is because after I posted this, I saw someone's thing who shows a post of Annie Oakley. Annie Oakley was born in 1860, I believe. So just before slavery ended. Annie Oakley's a white woman, but just before slavery ended. So times then were way different. The only people that had rights were white men, and to a great degree, wealthy white men. So let's get this under, it's a different time. Annie Oakley was a sharpshooter. And it says in the meme that I ain't afraid to love a man. I ain't afraid to shoot him either. And I made this comment that says, honestly, this is why we have men and women killing each other. Memes like this are cute until it gets real. I get it's a joke, but sometimes we joke about the wrong things, and these types of things send the wrong message. We have different generations now, as I just pointed out, that don't go for that. There used to be shows on all the time, and you still may see them, where if a guy calls his girlfriend fat or says something, she'll smack him like, "I can't believe you did that." And that was socially, and still is socially, acceptable. You can have a woman beat a man, and it's socially acceptable. This newer generation doesn't tolerate that because they're raised under the pretense that everything is equal, that everybody's equal. So if I, if this kid over here, and Kevin Samuels talked about this, that if this kid over here didn't do any work and I did all the work on the project, it used to be that the teacher, I remember teachers would decide who did what. We had 3 people. All 3 of us were supposed to do a project together. But the teacher could tell that only 2 people did the project and only 2 people participated, and the other guy was over here goofing off. The other guy didn't get a collective grade with everybody else. They got a separate grade, and it wasn't good, while we got graded on our performance. Nowadays, it's not like that. Every kid gets something. If a kid goofs off and is a problem because we don't have good parents like we used to, then that child still gets rewarded, while these other kids who put in the effort are like, well, what's going on? You see that even now in terms of the vaccine, and I don't want to get all down that rabbit hole, but you had people who went and got the vaccine and other people like, I don't know. And the government saying, well, I'll give you money if you go and get a vaccine. It doesn't make sense how we have society has went backwards. We've regressed as a society. It's just so stupid. So you had people on here chiming in. You had this one lady, who made the post. I can't understand what she was trying to say, but basically she was trying to say that she puts up posts and only mature people can understand that it's a joke. And I was saying that I get what you're trying. I said, I don't know what you're meaning, because I couldn't understand what she was saying. And then this one white lady chimed in, which is typical of saying the statistics on men killing women versus women killing men are wildly different, making this meme's commentary all the more thought-provoking. And I said, that I think anyone killing anyone is primitive. See, this is where the accountability comes in at. The fact that you're sitting here saying that this type of thing is cool because men may kill women more than the other way around is stupid. None of it should be tolerated. You should be teaching girls and boys to keep their hands to themselves. You know, one thing I asked my mama, because my dad was a skinny man. Him and my mama were about the same height. He's a little bit taller. My mama always was kind of a heavier woman. She probably had a good 50 pounds on him at that time. And she said, him and her were arguing about something, and he raised his hand back, and she said, "You bet not." And he put his hand down. And I said, "But did my dad ever hit you?" No, he didn't. And the reason why he never hit my mama is because he knew that she would clean his clock. Period. My mama never laid her hands on my dad, and my dad never laid his hands on her. Because back in them days, similar, because my mom was born in 1932, my dad was born around that time. My grandmother was born in 1910, which is my mom's mom, and her dad was born in my grandmother was born in 1912, my grandfather was born in 1910. These old people, similar to Annie Oakley, it was a different time. You met force with equal force. Didn't matter what the circumstance was. It was different because women didn't have hardly any rights whatsoever. In Annie Oakley's time, you had no rights. It was different. Now you have tons of rights. That doesn't mean that you still don't have violence against women and all these horrible things that do happen. They do happen, for sure. But now you can make reports. If a woman says that she's been pushed, guess what? She's going to jail. Doesn't matter if there's proof or not. It's different. I'm not making excuses. It's just different. So I said this because the woman says, basically, the fact that there are more men killing women. I said, I think anyone killing anyone is about as primitive as a person can get, man or woman. So regardless of a stat, a meme advocating more of the same isn't wise. I never understood why people advocate for violence just because one group does it. There are tons of racist white people who do stupid things to black folks. Doesn't mean I should do it back to them. Right? No, it doesn't, but for some, they meet force with force. Annie Oakley was born during a time of slaves, and where anyone who wasn't a white male had no rights. So she had no protection with her in times like many. She had no protection at that time like many other women of her time. So it makes sense as to why she became a sharpshooter. Today there are more protections for women, but still we have men who are violent as well as women. I don't agree with violence from anyone, nor advocating it. And so then, the one original poster was saying that, she had put something up about suicide prevention and how someone was saying that she was advocating, suicide. And I said, that's different because that person completely got it off wrong. You were advocating how to prevent something that's so tragic, because a lot of times people who are crying out for help, people just don't, outside of their friends and family, don't pay attention to certain key things. And so sometimes that's a helpful thing. This is not. And I said, for the record, this is a true thing, for the record, because it shut up the white lady who's just talking. And then this other original poster just stopped because you're trying to advocate something that's completely stupid. I said, for the record, a guy also posted a meme saying a woman is just like a rug. Every once in a while, you have to take them outside and beat them. I said some laughed. Most of the women rightfully felt it was disgusting. I also told him that it was nasty and not cool, and then asked if he wanted a man to beat his daughter that way. And similar to them, he gave no response. And I said the same with this. If you are cool with a woman shooting your son or brother, then cool. Otherwise, it just isn't cool. See, when you turn things around, and this is why people hate Kevin Samuels, is because of the simple fact that A, you have a well-dressed, clean-cut black man who commands authority, and people don't like that. I remember when I was working for a company, and because I walked around with my head up and positive, I had a white boss who said that I was cocky. Not based on words that I said. There was a white manager or a supervisor who was very cocky, who voiced his cockiness, and that was never mentioned to him. Anytime a black man shows any sort of, if they speak out, you have someone that's trying to put you in check. And that's the situation with Kevin Samuels. That's why he rubs people the wrong way. He rubs some black dudes the wrong way because they cannot elevate themselves to that level. And he rubs some black women the wrong way because of the simple fact that they don't want to have accountability. And because you have some black dudes that don't like the fact that he dresses nice and they are still walking around looking like they're 15. I tell you the story where I had a hat on from, I forget, it's True Religion. I had a True Religion hat on, and I had a black dude that's wearing a snapback and some Jordans look at me and say, "Are you black?" The black dude. I looked at him with a started looking. I said, "Are you?" Yeah, I am. And it shut him up because are you the only definition of what black men are supposed to be? It's somehow you have to toe the line. And I think that for some reason we have, as a society, allowed the stupid to take over. It's just so much stupidity. And then we double down on the stupidity. Even when you sit there and point out that it doesn't make any sort of sense what you're saying. Especially when you frame it as, would you want your son? If this is how you feel about men, would you want your son? Kevin Samuels does it too. It's basically making someone take ownership, right? Take ownership of this situation, this scenario. Let's take ownership of it. Would you want your son to be dealing with someone who is not good and that doesn't want to accept accountability, responsibility for anything? Well, no, I wouldn't want that. Well, then what makes you think someone else's son deserves that? You're not something special. And unfortunately, we've created a society where we have a lot of women who don't try much and think that they're super special. You don't have to do anything but just come out your mama and boom, I'm born, I'm super special. And for some reason, we have dudes that don't want to really apply themselves and do much, and yet sit here and feel like everybody owes me something. And then the people, the poor slubs who go out here and work every day and bust their butt are not rewarded for it. Men or women. I mean, there's men and women who go out here every single day and bust their butt. And people look down on them because they're out here busting their butt and saying, well, why don't you go on ahead and just get some, government aid? Why don't you go on ahead and get this? It doesn't make sense. I talked to a guy yesterday who's a big landlord here. I gave up on the whole landlord thing. I talk about it in our Discord, which join the Discord down in the description box below. I used to own properties. I hated it because you have people who cannot take accountability. It's not like it was back in the day. When I was a kid growing up, there was a landlord who owned the house. He was a slumlord, kind of. We improved the house. You rarely get that situation nowadays. You may have someone who will go through and trash the entire house or live like pigs, have no respect for your property because they don't respect themselves. Or you have people who are not accountable and don't want to pay you, even though they can. They don't want to pay you because they're trying to, again, live a life that they can't really live. So it's all about image. It's all about getting an expensive phone that they can't afford. Or driving a car, you see a lot of people, a big chunk of people, who have Audis and BMWs and Mercedes, and they cannot afford it. But yet they let everything else go to the wayside. They let their health go to the wayside because they won't exercise, because that's accepting accountability and being responsible for themselves. There's no self-improvement. So therefore they'll just eat garbage and trash, and so then they become overweight, poor health, everything else. And so it's like we went backwards. That meme that I posted makes so much sense. And I'm not saying I'm, the holy grail and I've done everything perfect and I live a perfect life now. I'm not saying that, but dang, accept responsibility. I teach these girls responsibility. When there's a piece of paper on the floor that one of them leaves and the other two walk around it, I'm like, you saw it on the floor. Why didn't you pick it up? Well, it's not mine. So what if I said that about you? There's tons of stuff you guys leave on the floor and leave on the counter and every place else. And I just say, well, it's not mine. And it just let it pile up until we start to eventually get rodents and eventually bugs and everything else. At the end, we just point fingers and say, well, I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it. And everything else falls to crap. So for me, it's like we've regressed. And someone asked Kevin Samuels on this one video that I'm watching. I don't know which one it is. Oh, it's asking if is Kevin Samuels gay. And someone asked him, when did things start to go backwards? Because there came a point in time where, your hard work in school wasn't really rewarded. It was kind of like everybody gets a prize. It's a participation prize. No matter, when I was a kid, I used to have ribbons. I used to take pride in beating everybody's butt running track. Right? We would have it's kind of like a beginning of fall festival. And we would all line up. There would be the high jump. There would be, the whatever meter dash and all this other stuff. And I would stomp everybody and win. You can go through and see all these little ribbons. The blue ones were first place. Red ribbons were second place. Third place was white ribbons. I remember. I had one white ribbon. I had maybe a couple of blue and a lot of red. No, I had a lot of blue and a couple of reds. I was a beast out there. The kids that didn't place didn't get anything, but they were told, next time, work harder at it. Ask these other guys, what did they do to actually get to that point? Like, nowadays, those types of things don't even exist. You don't have home ec anymore. You don't have anything. No, there's some places there's no PE. Some places here, for example, there's no art classes. There's none of those things. It's like, well, what are you teaching the kids? Like, what are you teaching? It's kind of like it's beneath you to work hard. Right? So I go back to the landlord situation. I talked to a landlord who owns a lot of properties here, and he's like, there's an incentive for people to not work. He hasn't been paid rent for one of his tenants hadn't paid him for 2 years. And there's nothing you can do about it. We have that long conversation about how it doesn't make sense. And him and I don't believe in the same politics whatsoever. But we're sitting here just agreeing with each other. Like, I don't get it. Like, I ask him, I don't get it. He's like, I honestly don't get it either. Like, we're sitting here dumbfounded as how we just, as a society, just went backwards. It's not just in America. There are other places too. There are some, in America, there are some communities who are worse at accountability than others. And then there are some countries, mainly a lot like the US, who have society just has no accountability. Other places, they would be ashamed. Like in Japan, they'd be like, what? It's different. It's different. That's why you have some people who are like, I'd rather stay here, because it people are accountable. People are just a little bit more respectful to each other. Nice. It used to be where, I've seen this. I've gotten so numb and used to it that I've forgotten, but I've seen this now where you would go and open the door. Like, let's say you go into a store, you open the door and you held it open for someone. They're like, oh, thank you. Nowadays, you don't get nothing. It's kind of like you're expected to do it. Changing lanes. I remember people like, hey, thank you. You know, when you're trying to, they wanted to get over. So you slow down and let them get in front of you. Oh, thank you, wave and all this. Now, you might get the middle finger. Even though you let them in, they'll give you a middle finger before they'll give you a thank you. It's like we've went backwards. You know, you have some women who take pride in being a homemaker and raising their kids and all of this. And you have a lot of women who look at them and say, that's a sucky life. Like, really? Like, ew. Like, they look down on that when that used to be a source of pride. And again, I go back to the meme where it was like you had someone who was a part of the family unit raising the kid to say, hey, go out there and play. Oh, you fell down and hurt your knee. It's okay. You'll be all right. You had someone who was a caretaker who was the actual parent. And I understand nowadays, you know, the cost of living is so expensive and we have to have two people outside of the house working, and I get that. But we have this, there are some women who can stay at home, and you have other women who look down on them. Maybe not so much in the white community as you do in the black community. In the black community, that's a big thing, of looking down on someone who's a stay-at-home mom. It's like, what? To me, it doesn't make sense. It's not just one, because I was like, you know, maybe the black community kind of went backwards, but it's everybody has went backwards. Everybody. It's okay to be nasty and rude to people. Doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter. It's okay. You see so much road rage. I don't recall road rage when maybe again, social media has brought it to the forefront. Maybe it has always been. But did you ever hear about road rage when you were coming up? See, it's not even a political thought. It's not based on race, not any of that. You can have someone who's the same race, the same beliefs, same everything. Road rage incident, people are ready to fight, shoot, scratch, cut, everything else. There's no respect for anybody anymore. I would say in the mid-90s, because he was talking about the mid-90s is when they started giving these participation prizes to everybody. Doesn't matter what you do. You don't have to work hard. You'll still be rewarded for it. I would have to agree with it. But looking back, I graduated in 96 from high school. Looking back, I agree with that. Because I remember taking home ec. I wanted to know how to, I wanted to know stuff. I took home ec. It was also an easy class. So I took it twice. Signed up for it for the second time. The teacher's like, why are you guys in here? Because we wanted to take home ec. It was easy. I had a lot of just BS classes at the end. My senior year, I was like, I'm done. Let me just take some of the same stuff over, the easy stuff. I only had like 3 or 4 really hard classes or classes I had to really think about. So of course I did it. That stuff's gone. It's gone. It doesn't make sense to me. Cursive writing, gone. You got kids these kids, what's that? What's cursive writing? Like I don't understand it. I don't get it. Maybe this is why we have the society that we do, of where everybody's equal no matter how much you try or don't try. That women feel entitled to just show up and every guy should fall down and just be like, oh my God, you're the prettiest thing ever. I do think social media has massified, or that's not a word, but just exploded some people's ego. It used to be that normal, regular, average people, mainly females, would try to put their best foot forward and show whatever skills and talents they have and this, that, and the other. And, realize like, hey, I'm average looking girl and that's okay. But, I have a great personality and, I'm funny. Not anymore. Because you have some people that's not really that cute, average, who will put on a ton of makeup and act like their poo don't stink. Who think that they are like, I saw a thing with Megan Fox in it. I saw one thing that someone said, they posted, I don't care, Megan Fox is still hot. That picture was just ridiculous. Then there was another one where she's in a campaign ad for Kim Kardashian with, I think, Kourtney. And I'm like, oh, God, she's bad. But there are some people who think that they are just as bad as she is, as hot as she is. And that if you disagree, then you must be a simp, you must be a sellout, you must be a bunch of other things. And again, it is this, everybody's winning. Like everybody, you don't have to try, you don't have to put your best foot forward, you win. And I don't understand it. It's like and I fear for the girls because I'm raising them to have accountability, be respectful. And even now they can go to the Children's Museum and you have kids pushing and being stupid and everything else. Kids do what kids do. But you look at the parents and you're like, well, I can kind of understand why the kid acts that way. Because nobody's disciplining the kids. No one's saying you shouldn't do that. You have kids now that will kick their crap over into the yard, throw stuff in the yard just because. And the parent does nothing about it. Even if you mention it to them, they laugh and say, yeah, that's crazy. They don't do nothing. Then when the child gets older, 18 years old, you can't tell them anything. There's no point in trying to correct them now as a parent because it's a tradition. It's a culture. You've taught them that it's okay to disrespect people. So what do you think they're going to do that they've been disrespecting people their whole childhood? They get older, what do you think they're going to be? A douche. And then you have the nerve to say, well, I teach my kids to respect people and treat people the way they treat you. If they're going to be mean to you, you be mean to them, but you're not. You're teaching your child to be someone who is just obnoxious. You're teaching your child to have standards like this, where it's all about them. It's not about accountability. It's all about them, what they want to do. And I do think that we have an increase of violence. I do think that we have an increase of men and women shooting and killing each other because of the simple fact no one respects each other. You see all these cases about people missing and this and that, and it's horrible. And people because no one respects someone else. People don't respect themselves. They don't want to sit and do right by themselves. They don't want to get help. You have people that don't care enough to sit and be cordial with people. It's just we don't have a sense of respect for anybody. It used to be that we had people who had different political beliefs, and no matter how firm they were, they still could sometimes come together and say, yeah, I disagree with that. I think it's better this way, but we're buddies. Now it is not the case whatsoever. It's kind of like if you think that way, then and you're forced to believe their beliefs. It's back in the olden day, and we're talking not long ago, right? 15 years ago, let's say. Back in the olden days, it was like, yeah, you think this way and we think that way, but you guys have really gotten it wrong. If they would just think the way that we do, we can get a lot of things accomplished, but they don't want to do that. Now it's like you are anti-American. You are this, and it's throwing names. Not only is it something that's been done in the Black community a lot, you have a lot of people who never seem like they graduated middle school. It's the name calling. If a Black man dates a white woman, there's a whole book, a dictionary of words that have been thrown about. And it's the same thing when it comes to politics and involving everybody. There's a whole list of names on both sides and all triple sides, everybody. They got names. Even within the same political party, it's like there's divisions in them. It's all these little subgroups and there's so many different names. I don't understand it. I honestly, I don't get it. It's like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Like the things that don't make sense, advocating for women to shoot men. If a man posted something like that, like again, like the guy that posted about beating a woman like a rug, which he had to end up taking it down because there were so many people talking about it, reporting it. Of course, it would be pulled. But this can sit and ride, and people are sitting and laughing and cheering it on and thumbsing it up. To take a look at this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people who laughed about it, and men and women. You have 1, 2, 3 people who thumbs it up, and those are all women, about not afraid to shoot a man. Now, I get it. It's a joke. I get that. But it's the signaling. It is a layered approach to it. The reason why we are where we are today is because it's been a layered approach. It is, you've had the situation where we've let things fly and let things slide for so long that it has created a culture where we think that that's cute. That if a woman cheats on a man, like, well, dang, he must have sucked. He was not that good. He probably was, small, rather on the small side. I'm trying to keep this PG. It's his fault for her cheating. There's no accountability. But if a man goes out and just likes a Instagram model's page, oh, well, what's up with these men? Men do better, especially if you're a black dude. If you just happen to go on somebody like Megan Fox's page and be like, oh, that's a cute outfit. Oh, black men do better. What's wrong with these black men? And these black men, this and that. It is this juvenile attitude that we've gotten as a society. It's not just one community. I'm not going to just put it on one. It is everybody. I don't understand it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the problem. Maybe. I'm willing to say maybe I'm the one that is just, maybe I'm confused. maybe I'm too old to understand and I'm just not hip with it. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I look at Kevin Samuels and I'm like, I agree. I love seeing black dudes dress up in suits. I love that. I've seen so many pictures from back in the olden days in the 60s of black dudes wearing suits. I'm like, yeah, man, I wonder what was that like. And now you got men who are Kevin Samuels' age dressing like they're, a rap star, walking around. I went to go to this particular club and you see that there's a guy you can tell he's old. Coming in, chewing up. He's probably about 56 or so. You can tell. About this tall, black dude, flat bill hat, clothes that... There's young dudes in there looking at him like, what are you doing? Whose grandpa is this? Like, why are you... You have to laugh at it. Like, man, really? Give it up. Give it up. You're not 21 or 22 or 23. Like, give it up. Trying to, hug all the chicks. And the thing is that the chicks will hug you because they're thinking that you're going to, buy them a drink or something. They're not taking you seriously. They're thinking you're going to buy them a drink or buy their girlfriend and them a drink. And I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get it. But see, people congratulate and celebrate that, even though they know it's corny and stupid, but they make fun of Kevin Samuels because he's about dressing appropriately for his age and for his business and for his job. But anyhow, I can go on and on and on. Be sure to join the Discord down in the description box below. Tell me what your thoughts are. Maybe I'm the one that needs help. I'm sure I do. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.